Birmingham, a city of rich history and culture, is also grappling with a crisis that affects its very core, gun violence. In this documentary, we'll hear from victims, families, experts, and leaders as we uncover the human stories and explore potential solutions to this ongoing tragedy.
Now, multiple investigations after a deadly night in Birmingham. 2 shootings killed 3 people. The shooters remain on the run. We'll start with the latest one.
Saturday night homicide. Authorities say one person was shot around 7 last night on 67th.
For the shooters who killed 4 people and injured at least 17 others at a popular night spot in Birmingham, Alabama. It happened late Saturday in the 5 Points South Entertainment District.
Effort to keep our communities safe. I believe the right to be safe is a civil right. The people of our country have the right to live, work, worship, and learn without fear of violence, including gun violence. And yet, today in America, 1 in 5 people has a family member that was killed by gun violence.
Unlike many U.S. cities experiencing stable or declining homicide rates, Birmingham stands out with a dramatic increase. In 2024, the city reported 148 homicides, highlighting an urgent local city's crisis that requires immediate intervention. 3 critical factors drive Birmingham rising homicide rates: economic instability, gun accessibility, gang activity. From 2014 to 2024, Birmingham homicide rates have steadily risen, reaching a record high of 148 in 2024. Socioeconomic challenges such as poverty and unemployment have fueled this sobering trend, highlighting the need for targeted community interventions. This graph illustrates the Birmingham rising homicide rates over the last decade. Starting at 53 in 2014, the steady climb to 148 in 2024 reflects a critical situation demanding comprehensive strategies to address the root causes and restore public safety.
I think that with the state policy of not having a gun permit, to have a gun really negatively affect the city as well, and possibly increase gun violence, because it was already easy enough for people to get guns, but now the police can't stop somebody and check to see if they have a gun permit, which will allow you to possibly almost intervene on a crime, for example. So say for instance, if they pull somebody over, they see somebody with guns, they'd be like, hey, do you have a permit? If they don't have a permit, they're like, okay, you're violating the law. They could run their name, etc. But now if anybody can have a gun, you can see guys walking down the street with AK-41s and big guns, and the police really can't say anything to them on whether or not they have permits or not.
Violent crime, and throughout the 13 years we've seen decreases, but unfortunately recently we've seen increases in violence.
And when you say violence, are we talking as what kind of violence?
We're talking violence involving firearms or hands. First, we need state legislation when it comes to Glock switches. That's a major issue in Birmingham right now, are Glock switches, which are devices that you can attach to a handgun and it makes the gun fire automatically, where rounds are being fired 20, 30 rounds within seconds. And we have no state legislation, and what that means is that we depend 100% on the federal government to help us. And their laws are more broad, and so it's difficult to make arrests quicker. And if we had state laws against Glock switches, we would make quicker arrests.
And let's start here to sort of set the table for this. Using, selling, making, or even possessing a machine gun conversion device is illegal. Full stop. Been that way for decades.
Especially 2024, we have seen the highest number of homicides that we've seen in almost 100 years. And the major reason for that is because you have devices on the street such as Glock switches where people are able to fire those rounds, and those rounds go everywhere. And one specific incident is the Hush shooting. Those suspects, they used Glock switches, or machine gun conversion devices as they're also called. And that's why you had so many victims that night.
Recent incidents involving Glock switches in Birmingham, including the tragic Hush Lounge shooting, underscore a critical public safety crisis. The increasing misuse of Glock switches, which enable firearms to fire rapidly, has contributed to a surge in violence, leaving communities shaken and law enforcement struggling to respond effectively. Adding to the problem, Alabama state laws currently allow individuals as young as 19 to carry firearms, whereas federal laws set the minimum age at 21. This discrepancy highlights the urgent need for legislative reform. By aligning state laws with federal standards and banning Glock switches, we can address the root causes of gun violence and work toward preventing future tragedies like the one at Hush Lounge. Community leaders and advocates are demanding action to close these gaps in regulation. With support from the federal government, we can implement stronger laws to enhance public safety, reduce gun violence, and protect lives in Birmingham and beyond.
I was imagining it was one of them that got shot and the other saw it. I'm so sorry.